Good morning and welcome to our Clean School Bus Workshop. This workshop is being recorded and the recording will be posted to the websites of the workshop sponsors. My name is Adam Levine and I'm the Executive Director of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council, or NYMTC. We are the metropolitan planning organization for the downstate New York area, including New York City, Long Island, and the lower Hudson Valley. This workshop is the result of a partnership between NYMTC, Empire Clean Cities, and the Greater Long Island Clean Cities Coalition. I would like to acknowledge and thank Joy Gardner, Executive Director of Empire Clean Cities, and Rita Ebert, Joy's counterpart at the Greater Long Island Clean Cities Coalition, for joining with NYMTC and organizing this workshop. Every day, we are all reminded of the climate crisis, either through reports of extreme weather somewhere in the world, through scientific measurements of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, or through ever more sophisticated forecasts of possible impacts in the future. Addressing a global crisis may seem an insurmountable task for planners and service providers in metropolitan regions, but as with other areas of human activity, steps taken locally can build to very significant large-scale impacts. That is certainly the case with the decarbonization of transportation. Working together in each sector, we can contribute significantly to addressing a crisis we all face. Today, we will be hearing about resources and funding available in the area of school transportation. We hope that the information shared will underscore the opportunities we all have to take meaningful steps. First on our agenda will be a discussion of federal and state programs and funding opportunities. We are joined by Serena E. Morales, an environmental protection specialist with the US EPA, and Adam Lomasny, the Clean Transportation Program Manager with the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA. After Serena and Adam have concluded their presentation, there may be time for a few questions. Toward that end, we ask participants to type questions into the chat pod, and we will get to as many as we can, time permitting. Serena? Adam?
Hi, good morning. Let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that?
Not quite.
Yeah, we're able to see the screen, but we don't see the presentation.
Oh, that's weird. Hold on. Okay, I think it should work now. Let's see. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Serena Morales, and I work for the EPA Region 2 office, which covers New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. I work as part of the Clean School Bus team, and today I just want to give you a brief overview of the Clean School Bus program and other federal school bus funding opportunities. So the Clean School Bus program is funded under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and that provides $5 billion over 5 years to clean a large portion of the nation's fleet. These newer clean school bus replacements will produce either zero or low tailpipe emissions. School bus upgrades funded under this program will result in cleaner air on the bus, in the bus loading areas, and the communities in which they operate. Under each round of funding, EPA will award around $500 million. However, due to program success, the last round of funding increased to $900 million. EPA will offer both clean school bus rebates and grants. So why clean school buses? School buses travel over 4 billion miles each year, providing the safest transportation to and from school for more than 26 million school children every day. Diesel exhaust from these buses have a negative impact on human health, especially for children who have a faster breathing rate than adults and whose lungs are not yet fully developed. Asthma is the leading cause of school absenteeism due to a chronic condition, and it accounts for 13.8 million missed school days per year. Air pollution inside the school buses can be 4 times greater than ambient outdoor air. And now with supplemental funding for clean school buses, there's no reason to not upgrade your buses. Under the Clean School Bus Program, eligible applicants include public school districts, which includes local or state governmental entities and public charter schools, tribal applicants, third-party applicants, which include nonprofit school transportation associations and eligible contractors, and applicants requesting funding for the replacement of school buses that serve a prioritized school district will be offered more funding per bus and receive preference in the selection process. Prioritized applicants are as follows: high-need school districts in low-income areas, rural school districts, Bureau of Indian Affairs funded school districts, and school districts that receive basic support payments for children who reside on Indian land. EPA awarded $500 million under the last round of clean school bus rebates, and that was increased to $900 million due to program success. The funding amounts vary based on the type of bus you request on your application. For example, Class 7 zero-emission vehicles received up to $345,000 under the last round of rebates. And in the same category, non-prioritized applicants received up to $200,000. And this total amount includes buses and charging infrastructure. Selectees may be eligible for tax credits under the Inflation Reduction Act. The IRS is offering up to $40,000 worth of tax credit. Additionally, applicants can now request an additional $20,000 for ADA compliant buses, but I'll talk more on this later. For the 2023 round of clean school bus rebates, 60% of total funds went to prioritized applicants and 40% to all other applicants. We expect this to be the same for the next round of funding, but just so you know, that ratio has changed in the past, so for your awareness. School buses must be a diesel-powered 2010 or older model. School buses will be scrapped if selected for funding. If a fleet has no eligible 2010 or older school buses and is requesting zero-emission vehicles, you can either scrap, sell, or donate a 2011 or newer bus. Please note that school buses to be replaced under this rebate program must provide bus service for the school district at least 3 days a week. Please check out our website for more detailed info about existing school bus eligibility. And we always offer various tools and resources to support anyone interested in clean school buses. Whether or not you choose to apply in the future, we suggest you utilize these resources to broaden your knowledge on clean school buses. Other ways to fund your school buses. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, EPA will distribute $1 billion in funding for the clean heavy-duty vehicles between now and 2031. 70% of that funding under the Inflation Reduction Act will be set aside for clean buses. $400 million will be going to communities in non-attainment areas. We will be offering grants, rebates, and contracts to eligible recipients to replace existing heavy-duty vehicles with clean zero-emission vehicles. The most recent round of clean heavy-duty vehicle closed in July, and right now it's kind of unclear when the next round of funding will be, but there will be another round of funding in the near future. Clean School Bus Program funding recipients may be eligible for Inflation Reduction Act tax credits via the IRS. Credits will be applicable to bus and infrastructure purchases, and applicants may claim up to $40,000 in tax credits for electric school buses and up to $100,000 for qualifying charging infrastructure. For the electric vehicle tax credit, both businesses and school districts are eligible to apply. For the charging credit, that credit is limited to businesses and individuals. And you should go to the IRS website for more info. So we currently don't have a round of clean school bus funding open, but actually a new round is set to open in the next few weeks, very soon. I was hoping it would open by this webinar, but yeah, so keep an eye out, sign up for our list, our listserv, and just stay informed. And that's it. If you have any questions, my email is here. Please email me or email cleanschoolbus@epa.gov.
That was great. Thank you, Serena. Adam?
All right. Let's just get this going here. Okay. Say my video didn't want to work, which is always scary at this moment. But looks like we're good now. Okay. And you guys are seeing this, right?
Yes.
We can see it.
Excellent. Okay, great. All right, good start. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Adam Lemazny, Program Manager at NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about our efforts in school bus electrification, but more specifically about one of the funding programs that we run. Okay, they can use this keyboard after all. Good. So in a nutshell, you know, to back up, and I think a lot of people are aware of it in case you're not, New York has passed a lot of regulation over the last few years regarding clean transportation and the transition to zero emission vehicles. Chiefly, it comes from the Advanced Clean Cars rule, and then also the Advanced Clean Trucks rule, which is all vehicles have to have zero emission sales by in the state of New York by for light duty 2035, and then for trucks 2045. School buses, it's a bit more aggressive. All new school bus sales in the state of New York have to be zero emission by 2027, and then on the road zero emission by 2035. Now, when we say zero emission, typically, you know, in reality, we're talking about electric, but that could also mean hydrogen solutions or other, you know, solutions that don't have emissions at the tailpipe. Serena was talking about what the EPA's been doing and, you know, supporting us with a lot of money. NYSERDA's role has been kind of multifold in this. Our main, you know, mainstays are typically market-facing incentive programs, which I'll talk about, but we're also playing a couple other roles here. So, you know, really trying to help support the districts, and, you know, also just for context, New York State has the most amount of school buses on the road compared to any other state. There's 45,000 of them in a lot of districts, and about half of them are actually contractors and not actually owned by school districts, which, you know, presents some different kind of dynamics in its own. So we're kind of trying to help support districts that you know, are curious about this. Some are more advanced than others. I know Johnson City is here today, and we funded a few of them, their buses, and, you know, they've got some pretty good experience with this, which is great. Some other districts, this is a brand new thing for them, and they're really trying to wrap their heads around it. So we've been publishing some guidebooks and other types of educational resources to help people start thinking about that. We're also providing fleet electrification planning services. So if before a school district wants to come in, or a contractor wants to come in and start you know, getting buses or chargers or things like that, we do provide some technical services that it's engineering firms that kind of help try to get the districts to think through, you know, what are the considerations they need to think about in terms of putting in chargers and operating the buses, like where, you know, where could the chargers go, understanding things around electrical capacity, utility bills, et cetera, just to kind of get, you know, that you know, knowledge to them, because, you know, for a lot of fleet managers and people in transportation managers, this is a very new competency. So, in regarding to funding, gosh, I guess that was a year ago now. The state passed the New York State Bond Act. It's a $4.2 billion. I don't want to say allocation because it's bonds that have to be sold, but essentially earmarked funds for addressing climate change and projects related to climate change. $500 million of that was set aside for school bus electrification, and it's really incentives for the school buses themselves and also for the charger school. NYSERDA stood up a program last year that the New York School Bus Incentive Program that funds both chargers and vehicles. That was a little new for us because we've done separate programs in light duty and trucks for either the vehicle or the charger, but we haven't combined them. So It's been interesting, but I think it makes a lot of sense because we heard a lot of feedback from people that said, well, I really wish I would have gotten my chargers before I got my bus, actually. And I wish you guys also had a program that funded them both. So here we are. So the basics of how the program works is it's kind of like a one bus to one charger ratio. But essentially, who submits an application, and I'm sure this stuff will be shared to you, and we have everything online as well. You can reference it later. But it's a point of sale program. So if you are a school district or a contractor, when you are making your purchase, whether it's through a dealer or it's through a manufacturer or an OEM, that discount is passed to you immediately on your purchase order. So in reality, who's submitting an application to us at NYSERDA is typically a dealer or a manufacturer. So there's a lot of dealers across the state, but also we work directly with some manufacturers, so whether it be Thomas Built or Bluebird or somebody of that nature. Again, it's not only school districts that can apply into the program, but it is third-party contractors, especially because a lot of them do maintain and operate a lot of buses for particularly New York City, Buffalo, and some of the other larger cities across New York State. And I'll get into the funding here. One of the other things too it's kind of similar to what the EPA does is we provide some bonuses for priority school districts and give some additional funding for schools and communities in need. So I won't belabor this too much, but these are on the left column here, these are the different types of buses. We abbreviate them. So we go between a type A, a type C, and a type D bus. We also fund repowers because there are some local manufacturers in New York that do this work, and we work with them quite a bit. So we thought that was something good to include. And we're funding essentially the incremental cost between a comparative diesel bus to a new electric one. You can see the base covered for these different types of buses ranges between 60% and 75% of that. So the base voucher amount which you receive per bus, it could be between $114,000 and $135,000. However, if you're a priority district, if you do things like choosing to scrap your bus, if your buses are vehicle to grid capable, have that kind of technology, and there's also accessibility add-ons for ADA compliance, that can actually increase the amount of money per vehicle that you're getting quite a bit. And actually, we've seen a lot of people choosing to scrap their buses because that's also kind of a nice added benefit to get older buses off the road as well. Now, in terms of the chargers, again, you can come in for the bus, and then also in the same application, if you want, get a charger. Well, actually, it's a separate application, but it's tied to your vehicle application. And we have kind of we have a base amount, and then which is depending on if you're a priority district or not, is a $25,000 or $35,000 per port base. Or what it can go up to is if you're doing a fleet electrification plan with us, you can actually access additional dollars up to $55,000 or $65,000. And just to kind of give you a little background on that, some technology solutions are going to be, maybe a level 2 charger around, maybe 19 kilowatts hour or more. Others, school districts are going to want to, or contractors, whoever, are going to want to use DC fast charger solutions. It kind of depends on their use case. So we wanted to be able to provide some additional dollars for fast chargers because, frankly, there's quite a bit more cost, more planning, more infrastructure work that needs to be done. And when you apply for a charger, it covers a couple of things. So yes, it does cover the cost of a charger. Below here, you can see, that can also cover a few other things. Things that we don't pay for are like the networking fees for the chargers themselves, extended warranties, permitting fees, and things like that. And if you're familiar with the the Joint Utilities EV Make-Ready programs, we definitely encourage the stacking between the two, because what you can do is receive money from us for chargers and the installation of those chargers, but then you can qualify for the utility side work as well. And in some cases, the utilities will fund up to 90% of that. So again, we're doing our best. We know there's a lot of programs. We're trying to make everyone aware of the other resources that are out there. Serena talked about the good work that's happening with the EPA and their various different programs. We work with a lot of districts that received EPA funding and actually are stacking it with our funding. We admit it's a little complex, everything that's out there, but we're trying to integrate it best we can and make sure people can maximize the amount of dollars they get. As I mentioned, the EV Make Ready programs through the joint utilities can be a really great source of closing the gap on infrastructure funding to get buses deployed at depots. And there's, of course, the federal tax credits, which is a little bit newer for some because school districts typically don't file tax returns like this, but there is money available for the Inflation Reduction Act for up to $45,000 per medium and heavy duty vehicle. So I'll end here, but the last thing, if you are a district or you're trying to pass some information on to some districts in your area about how to engage, here's some kind of basic ideas of where to get started. We have guidebooks on our website that you could look at to get an idea of kind of what's involved. It's a planning process really, and we're trying to help, but it's the districts and contractors that are really doing this work, and it's not always the smoothest, but we're learning a lot, and it's really great to have partners who are doing this, and we're seeing some really great success stories in deployments across New York State. So it's really great to see. It's going to take a while to get change out there, but we're here to provide the help that we can and the funding that we can. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Adam. Really good information. I dropped the link to the CleanBus EPA web serve, or I think that was what it was, so that folks can sign up. It's an easy Google, but I figured I'd just drop it in there if anybody wants to. I'm gonna kick off, if it's all right, the Q&A session with a couple of questions of my own, and see if anybody else has any while I'm asking. So I was trying to understand, if I could, the approximate cost of a bus. I think I saw in one of the tables that you showed it's somewhere, Adam, somewhere between maybe $120,000 to $150,000. Is that roughly the cost of an electric bus, or is that low, or do you have an idea of that?
No, so that's the numbers I was showing are the cost of the incentive that we provide.
Okay.
Cost. The cost of an electric bus, it varies, but it depending on the size, it could be a few to several $100,000.
Okay.
Depending
All
on the
right.
manufacturer and how many you're buying at a time and things like that.
I thought it was a good suggestion to start small with one or two, so that the fleet managers can learn, what they need to do in order to, expand the program and kind of work through the any particulars of an electric bus. What has been you mentioned that there have been great successes across New York State. What have been what's been the feedback, especially, have we gone through a winter, or, especially with the I guess hilly terrain upstate, especially, how the electric buses are able to manage that?
Yeah, so and I'll say we've run the New York State Truck Voucher Program for some time, so we have quite a bit of experience working with transit agencies across the state. And yeah, I'm using that as kind of a proxy because some of them, they got their buses and they're in areas across the state where it gets pretty cold or it's a bit hilly, and they admittedly sometimes ran into some issues with range and things like that. But again, that was a few years ago with some of them, and technology is changing every year, and the batteries are getting a lot better. We've had some districts in the capital region that have been working on this, and I think what they're saying is the drivers really like them. The maintenance costs are generally lower. I think the big thing is, trying to understand the range and putting them on the right routes was one of the things there. And then just kind of getting used to the technology. I think charging is sometimes a little bit challenging for some of them, either getting the right amounts or, frankly, integrating some of the different technology because, there's telematics technology, there's fleet management technology, and there's the chargers. And sometimes it doesn't always talk to each other. So I think that's one thing that's been kind of ongoing. But generally, once people have them, we have not heard anyone say that they don't like them.
And that's really great to hear. I think from my recollection of riding on a school bus, there's generally some period of time midday where perhaps they'd be able to charge again. And this is kind of an electrical grid question. You know, as more vehicles are electrified, I guess there are some concerns about the grid capacity for overnight charging when so many vehicles may be plugged in, but school buses may be able to charge midday and therefore kind of be off peak. Is that a possibility, do you see?
That's one thing that, utilities, Public Service Commission, are really trying to encourage that where possible to, not only to make it easy on the grid, but to defer, costs to lower costs for districts and people actually, doing the charging, definitely. And not just for schools. I mean, for people with their own EVs at home, it's, they tell you it's a little bit better to do it that way.
Great. I see we've got a couple more questions in the chat pod. Jerry, did you want to read
Yeah,
those?
we have Jeffrey Otto from New York City DOT. How many electric school bus manufacturers are there in the United States? And are these traditional ICE manufacturers that have set up new EV production lines? Or are they startups that have tried to make a better school bus design? So that's for either one of our two initial panelists.
Yeah, so I'll start. I don't know how many there are nationwide, but the second part of the question I can definitely answer. It's a mix. There's a lot of legacy companies out there that have made internal combustion ones. So think like Thomas built. They are putting out their Julie E models. Navistar, they make everything. Especially school buses. They've been putting them out. Bluebird, has made school buses, but there are definitely some newer entrants into the field. But yeah, I think most of the things we are seeing deployed are from legacy manufacturers.
Okay, Adam, we don't have any other questions at this time.
I don't know if Serena wanted to weigh in on that question or national perspective, perhaps. Maybe not. Okay, well, we can come back if Serena, if you have something you want to say. We'll move on to the next section then. Thank you, Serena.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
I was on mute.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really don't have a perspective from my side. We typically just handle the grants part of things.
Okay.
There are a lot of new companies though that have been applying. I can't say that much without giving too much details. And they seem to have a decent idea of the clean school bus industry and what kind of buses to look for and how to provide support. And basically our job is just to provide further support to them so that they could support the customers.
Terrific. Oh, we have another question.
Yes, this is from Joseph Corrado. Adam, you mentioned grant stacking with NYSERDA and EPA. Can you speak more on this?
Yeah, so it's kind of time and place, but when our programs didn't quite align when different EPA funding was coming out, and we originally had ours open. But I guess the point is, we want to encourage school districts that are getting EPA funding or would like to get EPA funding, if there's another round, as Cerrito's moving to be able to get that, but also can apply for the New York State bus program. And so there is a certain amount of money that we will provide on top of an EPA award to really maximize the total amount. The only thing we're not going to do is fund more than, I would have to look at our rules, but we won't fund more than like the 100% of the cost of the bus itself, but we will provide some additional dollars on top of the EPA award.
Yeah, from a federal perspective, you can stack anything on top of EPA funds except for other federal awards. So you can't get two federal awards and use it on the same project. Any other agency is going to tell you the same thing. And it's similar to NYSERDA. We won't cover over 100%, of course, since you're just pocketing the rest of that. So.
Okay. Thank you both. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, implementation resources. I'm happy to reintroduce Joy Gardner and Rita Ebert to share their expertise with us on this topic. And as with the last agenda item, please type questions into the chat pod and we'll get to as many as we can. Joy and Rita? Joy, you're going first, I assume? Yes. There you are. Are you going together?
Can you see the slides?
Yes, yes.
Actually, Rita's going to kick us off.
Hey, I'm just starting my video. Sorry. I don't know if you could see me, but I am the coalition director for the Greater Long Island Clean Cities Coalition. And I'm just going to show you a few slides that it shows where the Clean Cities program has been in existence for 30 years. It's very unusual to have a federal funded entity like ours throughout the country that is funded for 30 years. There are about 75 coalitions throughout the country. In New York State, we have 6 coalitions, Buffalo, Rochester, Central New York, Capital District, and the New York City, Lower Hudson Valley, and Long Island. We have helped deploy over 2 million alternative fuel vehicles. We work very closely with the New York State because of NYSERDA. So we're constantly changing ideas, working on webinars together. Okay, next slide, Joy. What we do is we provide education and outreach to decision makers, fleets, and the public. We offer alternative fuel vehicle planning support, training, and assets to technical assistance. We connect fleets and municipalities with alternative fuel providers, industry partners, and resources. Identifying funding and incentive programs, collect and analyze regional data. We support alternative fuel corridor planning. And one thing I have to add to this is that we have a lot of folks coming to us, and we connect everybody together. So that's how we work with the fleets. Next slide.
All right. Thank you, Rita. And then I'll jump in here and talk a bit about the free resources that are available through the Department of Energy and some of the national labs that work closely with the Clean Cities and Communities coalitions. As Rita mentioned, what we do is we connect stakeholders with objective information and experts to help with the transition away from gas and diesel to alternative fuels, electric vehicles, fuel economy improvements, and other emerging transportation technologies. Our coalitions guide stakeholders to the best resources available for their specific need, including connecting folks to technical assistance from the national laboratories. If during your transition there is a hiccup that can't be solved by your vehicle manufacturer or your charging provider, we can deploy what is called a Tiger team to come in and help you figure out the best path forward. Our technical response services, again, if you can't find the answers and if we don't have the answers for you, we can tap into this technical response service and get a team of folks to find a detailed answer for you. And then the Alternative Fuel Data Center, afdc.energy.gov, which I'll go into detail on the next slide, but this is a great resource for everything related to alternative fuel vehicle fueling and infrastructure. Recently, the DOE and labs have created what is called Flipping the Switch on Electric School Buses, and it's a resource series. This resource series is available for free to anybody who would like to take advantage. It provides detailed information about the benefits of electric school buses, examples of their use, including case studies, and resources to help you implement for the K through 12 schools interested in deploying electric school buses in their area. This is an 8-part series, and each series has up to 3 modules in each section, and those include detailed videos and downloadable handouts. So these are great resources for your fleet staff or local school board or municipality to watch independently, or it's a great training resource as well. The series includes topics, just a basic introduction to clean cities and communities and electric school buses and how we're all here to help. How to work with your electric utilities, the basics of charging infrastructure, and some considerations to consider as you're making that transition and choosing the right infrastructure for you, including exploring some vehicle to grid technology. Infrastructure planning and solutions, vehicle in-use performance, so diving a little bit deeper into the buses themselves, how they work and how they operate, and how you can make them the most efficient for your route planning. Driver and technician training, as you heard earlier. I mean, we've heard that drivers really enjoy driving an electric school bus, but there are some main differences. So this is just some considerations to take back to your fleet team, and then also some cost factors, including how some more details about stacking various incentives and funding opportunities, and some total cost of ownership calculations. And then we'll drop the link to this resource in the chat as well, and it's also linked on the later slide. NREL, which is the National Renewable Energy Lab and the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation, are also providing free technical assistance to school districts who are applying or receiving funds through the EPA Clean School Bus funding. And the technical assistance includes topics on electric bus basics, charging equipment, utility connection, bus performance, and some considerations around route planning and maintenance. And then here are some just additional resources. At the top is the Alternative Fuel Data Center. The second link is specifics around the tool that we mentioned. Then we have a vehicle search tool. If you're wondering what vehicles are available, what school buses are available in different class sizes, you can use this search tool to find out some more detail on what's on the market now. School transportation data, if you're just looking for some general data to back up and support your transition planning, you can feel free to use that. And then at the bottom two links, if you are in New York City or Westchester, which is Con Edison's territory, they have some great utility resources, including their Make Ready program, which provides incentives for bringing the additional power to your site to make sure that you can charge your buses. And they also have a fleet advisory service, which is just another layer of support for you all as you make that transition. And then that's pretty much it. Here is our contact information. If you are in New York City or the lower Hudson Valley, please feel free to reach out to me directly. And if you are in Nassau or Suffolk County, please reach out to Rita directly, and we are happy to help you on this transition and connect you to resources and experts to make this transition as smooth as possible.
That was really helpful. Excuse me. Thank you, Joy and Rita. I guess I'm kind of curious to kick things off in terms of questioning. How has been the receptivity of the area to electric school buses in the last few years, I guess, as opposed to the previous, I don't know, 25 or 30? I mean, it seems like there's been a lot more activity and funding available with the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act and Inflation Reduction. I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit.
Sure. I mean, as you can imagine, when there is a state mandate in place and when there is significant amount of funding, it definitely makes it a lot easier to incentivize folks to make that transition. Although we do have a few leaders in this space, and Rita can speak to some school districts that she's worked with in Suffolk County, and we have a few here in New York City that have started their transition early. And then later in the program, we'll hear from two folks who are also pioneers in the space. So I'm excited to hear about that as well. But certainly, seeing this major investment from both the state and federal level has, we've seen a significant uptick in the number of school buses that have been deployed, electric school buses that have been deployed and ordered. A couple of our partners received their school buses actually last week, and so a couple of them went on the road starting on Monday. So some of that data is coming in, and some of that troubleshooting is, working out some of the minor kinks, but a lot of pickups and drop-offs were successfully made, and we're just excited to see more and more of that roll out over the coming months and years.
Yes, and I just want to add to it that it's really booming, electric school buses. I've had 10 school districts on Long Island come to the coalition asking questions about funding and availability of the vehicles, and also some concerns. They want to know about safety and maintenance training. We do provide that as well. We have a company that we outsource, and we hold workshops. So anything that we need to help increase the visibility of electric school buses, we're all for. Funding also helps a great deal. Schools have to put it into their budget. Every year they could add into it little by little. We've had a school bus on Long Island that has been using electric school buses now for at least 8 years. So we're very happy to see the increase of interest in it.
Really great to hear. Thank you, Rita and Joy. So maybe we need to have another one of these workshops in a year or two to get more feedback, in addition to the feedback we're going to hear in just a couple of minutes, how the school districts are doing and what lessons they've learned. So thank you both. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Adam, I just want to give one more plug. We are working with a couple of partners in New York City to host some lunch and learns where we will bring a school bus to your district office, or to your, if you're a school bus contractor, to your depot, and we can go through the ins and outs of how the vehicle works, and we'll bring some funding experts as well to talk through the incentive process, and some experts from Con Edison to help with a site assessment as well. And so we'll follow up with an email regarding that opportunity, but you can expect to see more in the next 6 months. And those will be, lunch and learns for specific school bus contractors. So it's a one-on-one experience for contractors and their staff.
Wow, that's really exciting. I'm tempted to try and visit that lunch and learn myself. Sounds really great, but
We'd love to have you.
yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Adam, we do have one question.
Okay,
and,
great.
Certainly the lunch part of the lunch and learn is attractive, but it's a very specific question about Thomas Bus Company, who is one of the biggest providers of school buses. Are they working on implementing electric buses anytime soon? So that is the question. I don't know if any of our panelists have an answer to that, but that's the question that was offered.
I can jump in if you want. I do believe Thomas Bus does make an electric school bus. I believe it's their what do they call it here? Their SFAT T-liner. It's like a Julie is like, I guess, what people coin the name. And they hold a pretty large market share in electric school buses on the market right now. So
Thank you for that. Also, Adam, Lauren Kestner O'Brien from Empire Clean Cities posted a link to the DOE Alternative Fuel Data Center, the electric school bus education section. So just want to make sure everybody was aware that that link is in the chat pod.
Yep, and it's got a lot of information, so please click away, everybody.
And that's it for now on questions.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next session, or our final item this morning. It's going to be to hear case studies of successful adoption of clean school bus technologies. Please keep sending those questions into the chat pod. We'll get to as many as we can, time permitting. I'm going to ask Rita to introduce our next speakers. Rita?
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joseph Corrado. Joseph is from Suffolk Transportation Services. He is an assistant vice president. He oversees finance and technology. He is also very involved in operations of the electric school bus program. Joseph, if you could tell us a little bit about your program and what areas you cover, that would be wonderful. Go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everybody. So, Rita, thank you for that introduction. Yes, Joseph Corrado, Assistant Vice President. Been with the company now since Suffolk Transportation since October of 23. It's a family-run company. My family's been doing school bus and bus transportation since about the 1920s. So, buses run through our veins, but that's what I like to say. However, I want to start with a brief story on, Suffolk Transportation and our journey with electric school buses. My father, John Corrado, has been excited about electric technology in the school bus for quite a while now. In fact, it really started in like the early 2010s. My dad started working with a private engineer to build hybrid electric school buses. And although the technology wasn't quite there, we certainly learned a lot about electric technology with those hybrid kits that we were building on our own. And, we tried to move forward with some of these hybrid kits. However, in 2018, I think we won our first DARE grant. And that's when we purchased 4 Gen 1 Bluebird buses. And that was really exciting for us to kind of be a part of that funding cycle and get some new electric school buses. And they were like 156 kilowatt batteries with level 2 chargers. So buses were great. Drivers liked using them. That was those generation of buses was when the cold weather had more of an impact on range and longevity of charge. And the level 2 chargers, the struggle there was it was charging for too long. So we would end up hitting demand charges in terms of, cost to charge a bus. However, we won another DARE grant in 2022 and got like seven additional electric school buses. And we use DC fast chargers now. So we are definitely reaping the benefits of those fast chargers. We're now able to charge a bus in 2 hours. And I think on average, it'll cost us about $9 to charge a bus. So huge success there. And, really the drivers still love the electric vehicles in terms of how it rides. And they are significantly more quiet than a diesel school bus. So kind of looking towards the future now for us and, how we, see electric school buses succeeding in New York State, we'd really love to get a 2-day charge on a bus, right? So, when you talk about some of the challenges that might be facing some school districts and some private operators is really like infrastructure and how you make it work for large fleets. So, working with Tino, who's the head of our shop department, by the way, not an electrician by trade, but what he's learned over the last 15 years in terms of what we've been doing with electric technology. He really has become quite knowledgeable in the subject. But just planning how we can electrify our yards and getting that 2-day charge would, be essential for us to quickly expand our fleet. But more than willing to accept any questions from the audience about, the successes that we've had and, maybe some of the pain points that, we think, we could solve in the next coming years to really make this, clean emissions electric school bus project a success. So definitely here to, help feed any thoughts that people might have.
I have a question, Joseph.
Sure.
I'm sorry if it's echoing. You have a couple of school districts that are, you operate the vehicles for them. How many other locations do you have besides Bayshore that you operate with?
Yeah, I believe that we are also operating with centralized SIP in Brentwood. So we currently have 2 yards that we have electrical infrastructure on. And both of those yards run for Brentwood, centralized SIP, and Bayshore. And I believe we have 2 or 6 DC fast chargers on both those properties. So um, the school district's experience with them has been nothing but positive. I think that they're happy to have, zero emission vehicles running up and down their school property, and I believe the students like them as well. It should be noted that, really the benefit of going to, electric is that you see a significant reduction in petroleum usage. So some quick stats, like a school bus will consume 2,000 gallons of petroleum a year, right? And to make it apples to apples, if you were to have a diesel generator creating electricity, it would be about 200 gallons of petroleum a year to power that electric school bus, let's just say with electricity, right? So it's like you cut petroleum usage into a tenth, right? Because some of the new school buses do have like near zero emission on a diesel, but in terms of petroleum usage for zero emission buses, there's a significant reduction. So those are like the things that, at least on our end, we're really excited about to help reduce costs.
Some of the things that people are weary about buying electric, how they operate in cold weather. Have you had any problems with that?
Cold weather does impact the battery. It has to do with it being, lithium ion. So there's fluid inside of the battery that is affected by temperature. The technology is advancing every single year, right? So, the change that we saw from those Generation 1 buses to Generation 2 buses is significant. Right now, the Generation 2 buses have like a blanket on top of the battery to help keep it warm. For those winter months, and range is inhibited, but our average daily mileage for a route is about 50 miles, right? And we're typically getting, we're getting more than 50 miles for sure, even during the winter. So, we're able to get that day of charge, but it's getting those 2 days of charge is really essential to the, expansion of electric school buses. So those are the things that we're looking forward towards, because really the range comes with a larger battery, right? So 250 kilowatt battery on a bus, right? That'll really be essential to multiple day charges on an electric school bus. But yeah, the cold weather had a larger effect on the earlier technology, and less so now. And we're even hearing, instances of school districts in Canada who, I believe it's Ontario, Canada, who, obviously have very cold temperatures, and they're still able to run electric school buses, right? So I don't know the efficiency ratios that they're hitting, but I know that electric school buses are operating in colder regions of the United States and in, places like Canada.
How many electric school buses does Suffolk Transportation have now?
Yeah, so we currently have 11 electric school buses, which, we were the pioneers in really this area on electric school buses. I think we're still one of the larger, we still have one of the largest electric fleets in New York State, even with the 11. So, we're happy that we're industry leaders, and we always have been. We didn't win a round of funding and earlier this year for additional buses, but I believe that was more for a push to increase the amount of electric school buses used in the city. I know a lot of city contractors won that grant. So it was like 80 electric school buses going to be used in Manhattan and the boroughs, hopefully sometime maybe later next year, which is really cool. But yeah, we have 11 electric school buses, and we run, I believe our fleet now total is about 710 large bus. So, a long way to go, but we're excited for the change, and really want this technology to succeed.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for all the great work that you guys are doing there. We really appreciate it.
I think I see some questions coming in, and I know we were reading them out loud. I think I can read them here. So, does early deployment, the first 11 buses, prioritize disadvantaged or other environmental justice communities in Suffolk County? Yes. So, the school districts of Bayshore, Brentwood, and CI, um, we got awarded those grants because they were priority districts. So, those deployments are all being all electric bus of our electric buses are running in priority districts. NREL provides free consultation for electric school bus routes in cold regions. They can let you know. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, it's actually very helpful. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. So yeah, you bring up an interesting point about, how long they can travel and help strategize for charging locations. We're actually consulting with um, a company called Zenobi. We've been talking with them, and they have launched a lot of electrification projects in Europe, and they've had a lot of success with working with large municipalities on talking about, planning and electrifying yard spaces, because, really a lot of the thoughts about electrifying your fleet have to be, maybe eliminating a 1-to-1 ratio with chargers to electric buses, right? Because that's how, these programs are going to see a lot of success, right? So, for example, we have, our service, our like switchgear and transformer, it's like 2,500 amps, right? So off that transformer or that service center, we can run 33 60 kilowatt chargers, right? So right now, these DC chargers that we have are like single gun units, and we could run 33 of them off that service center, off that service center. So right now, in theory, you can get 33 buses, right? But if let's just say that 60 kilowatt charger has 5 guns, right? Charging guns, like the plug-in piece, right? And now you can plug in off all 5 buses off this one DC charger, and throughout the night, right, which is the off-demand charging, it's like 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., right? And you have software inside of the inside of the charger that will, kind of daisy chain down the row, and then you have, okay, charge this bus 2 hours, turn off, next gun, turn on, right? And you could really efficiently charge a fleet that way, right? So, the math is that with those 33 chargers, if they're each 5 guns, you can charge up to 150 buses, right? Without having to upgrade your service transformer and switchgear. So those are like the really cool things that we're looking forward to, and technology is going to continue to advance. And, now that everyone's kind of thinking electric school buses, you're seeing both the charging company and the OEM manufacturers being more creative and solutions that they have. So yeah, I think it's gonna take off in a really positive way, and Suffolk Transportation is excited to be a part of it.
Great. Thank you very much for all this information, and thank you for your time today.
Oh, I think I
Any other
see it.
questions?
Yeah, I think I see another one. Is the cost the biggest obstacle in having more electric school buses in your fleet? If not, what is? And what else could help hasten the transition? So, the cost is definitely an obstacle. Like, the funding is helping a lot, but obviously, with, you know, every school district and private contractor looking to get the grant money, the grants are becoming more competitive. Like the price premium on electric bus can be anywhere from, $100,000 to $250,000, right, from a diesel. So, those are definitely real costs, and the funding helps significantly, um, you know, take the burden off that cost. Um, but you can do quick math on 700 buses, right? So there's definitely a cost to that, but there's phase in, and you start in 2027 and you have till 2035, so there's time to convert your fleet. So it's definitely an obstacle, but like we've heard even in this workshop, the state and federal government are getting creative on ways to help support school districts and contractors, um, lessen the burden of the cost of that upgrade. And of course, from our perspective, we would love to see some sort of price parity between diesel and electric school buses. Kind of like a no-brainer there. We'd love to not really have that price premium, but hey, listen, this is what it is. It's new technology, and it's going to cost more, because the OEMs have to make their changes with their manufacturing plants and hire engineers to figure out how to do this smart. So definitely been an obstacle. I don't know if it's been the biggest. Again, it's the obstacle is being kind of partnering with outside consulting firms to try to take a look at your yards and be smart about how you adapt to these changes, right? So, what I was just saying about even the charging stations, right? So, you're going to have to purchase a school bus, but now you have to think about how you're going to get every single school bus fully charged by the morning, right? And I mean, we're here on Long Island, and real estate's expensive and it's scarce in terms of large industrial sites. So, if you have this one-to-one ratio of a school bus to a charger, you could see that being, a problem, saying, well, how are we going to make this work? Because the charging stations themselves take up, square footage. So, really being smart about how you approach the technology. And, we have great relationships with both PSE&G, bus OEMs, and the charging station manufacturers. So, the experience that we've had so far has really helped these parties be smarter about how they approach the technology. And, like I said, if we're able to, get, let's just say 5 charging guns on a charging station, the price of the electric bus can have some sort of parity with the diesel, and the cost to operate the vehicle reduces significantly, right? And by the way, all cost savings then flow back to the school district, right? At least from our private contractor's perspective, right? So, and this cost savings to the school district is a cost savings to the taxpayer, right? So that's really the benefit that we see, and why converting to electric is really exciting, and of course the emission benefits as well. So those are, I guess that's a long-winded answer, but yeah, cost is definitely an obstacle, but we're gonna work through it like we work through everything else.
Thank you. Anyone else? So we move on to our next speaker. Thank you once again, Joseph. We really appreciate this.
Yeah, thanks again. Thank you to everyone for having me. And I'll drop my contact information in the chat, so if anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out for me. But thanks again to everyone on the call, and this is really exciting stuff, and this is where the future's headed. So we're here for it.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Our next speaker is Elizabeth Fox. Elizabeth Fox is from Johnson City Central School District. She is Director of Auxiliary Services. Ms. Fox, you're up.
Morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here and talk to you guys. So as they said, I'm Elizabeth Fox, Director of Auxiliary Services from Johnson City Schools, which is located near Binghamton, New York, which is upstate. So a little bit different than Joseph. As he spoke, he's a private contractor. So I'll just point out a couple differences. So we're in upstate, he's downstate. We are a district-owned, not company, but we are district-owned for a school district fleet. We're a little bit smaller. We definitely have probably some more hills and a little bit more snow than Joseph as well. So it is kind of cool to hear how this new technology is working for different locations, different size fleets. So hopefully I can share some good information with you guys. So just an update of where we're at. We had our first bus arrive in Johnson City in January. We've been running it since. We've had no downtime with it, which has been nice. It's been on the road every day. We have ordered and will be receiving a second and third bus anytime here now. So the way that we implemented it is in our current infrastructure, we were able to install 2 level 2 charges with very minimal cost. We do have a capital project planned for being able to have full electrification. This has been very interesting, working through some fleet studies, alongside with our dealership Leonard's Bus Sale. They sell IC buses, and so our district purchases through them. They've been instrumental in helping support this project and sort of being our partners hand in hand as we work through each step of this. So we've been working with NYSEG, which is our utility provider, as well. We will be adding a second service, which is very exciting. So we've gotten drawings done. Like I said, we've done that fleet study to see how much electricity we're going to need. We do have total costs, and we're working on receiving funding through, we have applications for that voucher program that Adam talked about earlier through NYSERDA. So we're waiting to hear back on that funding. And then we're also enrolled in that heavy medium duty make ready program as well. So we're hoping to receive funding for that second service install, which is great. So before Johnson City, I was director of transportation in Ithaca, where we were able to implement 5 electric buses there as well. So some similarities that I saw from working at both places while implementing new buses is it's so important building a team. So as a transportation director, it's very hard to do any of this work on your own. So having somebody that is, your expert in your budget area, they know what funding is available to help support this project. Your facilities person who has the contacts with your utility, they know your buildings in and out. And then also whoever you're going to buy your buses from, your manufacturer as well. So building that team, that support, and then meeting on a regular basis has been super instrumental, both locations, just to keep that project going. Even if you just meet and touch base of where you're at on a weekly basis, it really helps that momentum going forward. Aligning project phasing with bus procurement and funding sources is a huge part of it too. So when you're a district-owned fleet, you need voter approval for bus purchases. So being able to align that with your funding can be pretty tricky. So having that team working around you is important. I've seen many districts, especially upstate, that have been able to receive funding for their bus purchase. And then, like I talked about earlier, that level 2 charger, really, even if it's not at a bus garage, but even at a building somewhere in your district, you normally have the capacity to at least do one level 2 charger. So you're able to pilot that bus and just see what problems are you going to have and how you can start working through those things. So I'm just going to share a few pictures of our journey. So here's just our first electric school bus unveiling. Really rallying our community around this project, including, administrators, Board of Education, outside community members, students, has really been important and has helped our program be successful here at Johnson City. In the back, I'll talk about some of our partners, but it's, important to include just the community support we've had as well. As you can see, this is not our first electric vehicle. Johnson City actually purchased these other 2 smaller vehicles first. So we have an e-transit bus that we use for our community services program. And so that van actually goes down in the community all the time, delivering clothing and food donations to families that are in need. So that has worked out very well for our district. And then on the right, you'll see a Ford Lightning vehicle that our head of maintenance uses to go back and forth within our campus. And so we've gotten great feedback from any staff that use these 2 vehicles. And it's nice to see, different ways of electrifying our fleet, not just school buses. Here's a picture of our first responder training. We were partnered with Leonard's on this as well. They brought in one of their trainers alongside me, and then we actually had an electric bus up on our lift. And so EMS, firefighters, law enforcement were able to come in, not only hear a presentation, but be able to get their hands on the bus to be able to see the disconnects, how the bus is made, where the battery is located in between the frame. And we did have over 100 attendees at this workshop, which was really nice to see the community interested in this. On the left side, you'll see some of our administrators. We visited a local gigafactory that makes these batteries. We were really able to get some expert questions and answers about how they're made, how they're recycled at end of the life, what happens when there is a chemical thermal event. And so if you have these resources locally, it's great to be able to ask them right from the source, because public asks you these questions all the time, right, in our Board of Education. So being able to explain to them even what happens at 10 years down the road and how do we recycle them? Is this good for the environment? It's nice to have that partner as well. On the right side, you'll be able to see I was able to go into a high school classroom and talk to them about the electric transition, about why it's important to our district. I was able to survey them and then take them on a demo ride as well. So here you'll see that picture. So we were able to take them for a ride, ask them questions about the difference that they noticed on the bus, talk about regenerative braking and how that works, and see what it feels like on the bus. Here's a picture. This is really sort of right at the start. So this was a demo bus from IC before we were able to purchase it. And these are all the administrators in my district. And so one of the very first things was getting them all on board and showing them this is why we want an electric bus. And I would really say the biggest success from our program has been getting advocates at every level. So students, teachers, administrators, we really have a champion on our Board of Education team as well. And so there's always a lot of misinformation about the electric buses. And so the more you can really build your community and team that do know more specifics is great to dispel some of that information. So NYSERDA also was talking about some scrapping earlier and some incentives that districts can get from scrapping buses that are eligible. And this is a picture of our first bus that got scrapped at a local scrappage yard. You heard someone from Clean Cities speak earlier. During our first time scrapping our bus, we actually had someone from the Central Clean Cities community. They were a representative. They came in actually, and they were able to help that. Yes, we did scrap it correctly. They helped us fill out the paperwork, so we were able to receive that funding. So they really have been a good support through the process as well. Locally, this is a nearby school. They just opened the first K through 12 energy lab. So kids are able to go to this school. They're able to learn about clean energy. They're able to learn about battery and battery storage. And so they've also been a very big help as well, being a community partner. And then here's some tools we've just used as a district. Just a quick question and answer. On the left side, you'll see that. So we have on our website, actually under transportation, we have an EV tab, and that just follows along the whole project. So anytime we do anything EV related, it's on there. And so people can get on there and see our journey. On the right side, you'll see all of our partners. So BAE Systems, they are a local business that actually they help create electric transit buses. And so, we ask them questions all the time and help support each other. Cornice Technology, they're actually an energy consultant. They do the fleet studies for Leonard's bus sale. So they've been huge helping us. NYSERDA has been very helpful in helping us navigate the process for funding. The Gigafactory is that C4V that we talked about. And then not on this list, but Binghamton University has been huge. They're affiliated with New York New Energy, and they've really been helpful in this project as well. So a couple different things that I heard earlier that I just wanted to address is the cost of a bus really does depend on how a bus is spec'd and the size of the bus. But I just wanted to give you an example of like our district, how much one costs. So our electric bus is about $405,000. We were able to apply through NYSBIP and receive funding as a priority district. So we received $257,000 towards our electric bus. And so that actually brought the cost of our electric bus $20,000 less than a diesel bus. And so when we talk about funding available, it's really important that if you're interested in this, that you go after every avenue of funding that you can. And it is possible to receive electric buses cheaper than you can a diesel bus. Talked a little bit about cold weather, right, and hills. So we do have quite a hilly terrain that we travel, and workforce training, so training our drivers to drive in a way that's efficient and we get as much energy back into the battery as possible is super important. Our IC bus has 3 levels of regenerative braking, and we train our drivers to drive them always in regenerative level 3. So that way we are able to get, I think it was about 20% more energy back into the battery than level 1. And so there is quite a learning curve though. And we not only have a trainer that's dedicated to training drivers with the electric bus, but he helps track all of our data as well. So cold weather, some things that I've noticed is if you charge outside, one thing that you have to think about is your cord management, how you're going to shovel and do snow removal around that and make sure that your cord is, protected. At Johnson City, we actually are all indoors. And the thing that I've noticed is charging management is so important because you have to make sure that you come to charge and that you maintain that temperature of the battery even after the battery is fully charged. If you don't do that and your charging is suspended or something like that, that's really when you see a lot of the miles lost within your range. And so that's just a couple things that I've learned. We have traveled in snowy weather as well. Because electric vehicle does weigh a little bit more, we actually have better traction in the snow. But the one thing I will say is that if you have your regenerative braking on, it acts very much like an exhaust brake kind of on a diesel bus. And so if you've ever driven a diesel bus, we know that when it snows and it's very slippery, that it can cause your bus to slide. And so if it is snowy, we do say, we don't want you to use your regenerative braking because it can cause the bus to slide a little bit. And then I would say lastly that my district really has been very supportive, and they believe that this electric bus serves as an educational tool, offering our students firsthand experience with this cutting edge technology. It also trains them to be environmentally conscious citizens as well. And so we plan, and we have already offered our students various ways to engage in this clean energy transition, which is also included field trips as well. We've taken some of our classes to that battery factory that I talked about earlier. Yeah, so that's it. I don't know if we have any questions, but.
Actually, I threw one question into the chat pod, which I think you partially answered, but we've talked a lot about the impacts of weather, both cold and I assume hot, on the vehicles. But what about on the facilities? You mentioned cord management, but are there any impacts of the weather on the charging equipment, on the other facilities you need to service the buses and so forth?
Well, I mean, when the cord management, it also, the cords become very stiff in the cold weather too. So you have to make sure that people are picking them up, wrapping them up. Sometimes you have I forget what they want to call it, but it's basically something that holds the cord off the ground as well. So those are just things that you have to think of, and maybe Joseph can talk if he's got an outside charging thing, he might be able to speak a little bit more on that. But hot weather too, that's just a couple things that I've heard is the electric bus is actually much cooler for drivers and for the students because you actually aren't getting that engine heat. And so I've heard that quite a few times from drivers that they really enjoy driving that in the summertime. I don't know if I answered your question, but I do have on here just a couple more things to add about the benefit of it. Is drivers have really told me there's a lot less distraction because when you're actually coming to a stop and you're opening the doors, because of the quietness, it's actually pretty silent as you're loading and unloading, which we know is the most important part of the job, right? Is making sure the kids are safe at that point. So less distractions has been great. And we've actually seen a lot better behavior on the bus as well. So significant decrease in referrals on that specific bus just because of the quietness, right? Kids aren't yelling over each other, drivers able to communicate with the kids better. And so just a lot more calm on the bus.
Calm is good. And we also have a question from Lauren Kestner O'Brien. In Ithaca, did your mechanics go through EV training and how did that go? Did you bring in an outside trainer?
So when I was in Ithaca, we purchased through Bluebird and we had very good experience with them as well. They did have training. So they have online modules for mechanics to go through. I know Bluebird and IC have also provided mechanic seminars at the state level, and they're able to come in and do it one-on-one if it's requested. Now, I will say that most of the time mechanics can do the regular things on an electric bus, but anytime that it is concerned with the high voltage part, both manufacturers, they do not allow your mechanics to really work on them. So they're going to be sending out representative for either Cummings or through that manufacturer specifically to address that because it's under warranty and they want to make sure that everybody is safe. So yeah, they train them, but there's not a ton on that high voltage side that they're going to do.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and comment on that as well. In terms of like mechanic and maintenance, yeah, like to exactly what you just said about, not really being able to get and start, making changes to the battery like we would be able to make changes to like an engine. We have like 76 mechanics that work in, 7 different shops that we have. But usually when an electric bus goes down, we have to kind of ship it off to, I believe it's Cummings who does the maintenance. So like that in a way is a little bit of a roadblock in terms of, a larger fleet and trying to maintain. But again, I think that's something that's just gonna evolve while the market is evolving. And, I think maintenance will just become easier. And who knows, maybe we'll be hiring electrical engineers here at Suffolk Transportation at some point. So, who knows where it goes. But yeah, it was a great question. Sorry to jump in. Just wanted to share.
No, no worries at all. No worries at all. So Adam, I guess NYMTC Adam, I should say, those are our only questions in the chat pod for these two presenters. Wait a minute, hold it. Just as I said that, another question.
Yeah.
Again from Lauren. I just want to say how impressed I am with the educational components you've been able to align with ESB adoption. I'm curious if some of the webinar attendees would be interested in having educational programs in addition to ESB adoption in their districts. Sounds like a great idea. I'm not sure we'll be able to get many answers in this venue on that, but it would seem to make some sense.
Yeah, and one thing I will just say too is, as Joseph just said, there's few techs that are able to work on these things, and I think our young kids right now that are in school, this is a new technology. They're going to be growing up and living with it, and so being able to expose them to new jobs that could be available that are going to be well paying is important at a young age, and so that can actually be part of it as you're rolling it out in a school district. I think that's important.
And Adam, if I could just throw one last item in there, particularly for the Johnson City example, what was it like dealing with the utility in terms of the electricity needs once you've started converting your fleet?
So we did an initial study that we requested for NYSEG how much energy we were going to need. Our first answer was it's going to be 5 years out. It was going to cost approximately about $7 million for the substation upgrade. We were able to work with NYSERDA and get on a call with NYSEG, and they were able to work with engineers, reroute, and it ended up costing the district $100,000 to secure enough energy for that second service to be added. We are, like I said, we are ready now. We've got the drawings done. We've got final costs done. We're waiting for funding. And so they really have been super helpful. And NYSERDA has really helped to move that conversation with the utility along. So we're super happy to have them behind us.
Great, thanks. I guess, Adam, that's it for questions at this point.
It seems to be really great conversation. I mean, to go from the, the high level with the EPA and NYSERDA all the way down to, working on the engines and, really getting into the nuts and bolts of all of this has been a really great workshop. So thank you again to all of our panelists for information that you've shared and hopefully the connections that you've made with each other so that you can follow up offline. I don't know if anybody else had anything else, so I'll just, I guess, wrap us up and thank Joy and her staff from Empire Clean Cities and Rita from Greater Long Island Clean Cities Coalition for your partnership and expertise. I want to again thank our participants in today's workshop, and I hope everybody that listened in learned valuable information on this very important topic. As noted earlier, the recording of this workshop will be posted on the NYMTC website, as well as the websites of Empire Clean Cities and Greater Long Island Clean Cities Coalition. Take care and have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.